Good evening.
It's the history of the Tottenham.
I'm sorry it didn't cost 55 million, so it cannot be good.
I will love it if we beat them. Love it.
Some of the passing is fucking scratchy.
We are in Champions League, man. Dilly din, dilly dong. Come on.
Sit down! Nobody talk! Sit down!
He's 24 years old. For me, if he's not got it now, when is he going to get it?
And I won more premierships alone than the other 19 managers together.
Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to the second edition of the Armchair Managers with Sibi and myself, Zach. We are joined today by my younger brother, a diehard Arsenal fan for as long as I can remember. He's been following the club for his entire 22 years on this planet. He's not quite 22 yet, but that's how long he's been following them. And we are just now getting together after watching the FA Cup final for the 2020 season between Chelsea and Arsenal Football Club, which emerged with Arsenal as the champions, recording their 14th record FA Cup victory. How are you guys doing, boys?
Doing good.
Yeah, I'm gassed, bro.
I'm
gassed,
happy.
honestly,
Yeah.
Like honestly, Zach. Like, listen, we finished 8th in the league. Okay, I don't care. You know, my hairline's receding. I don't care. My wife left me. I don't care. Honestly, okay. Like, we've just won a trophy. Arteta's won a trophy in less than 6 months. Out of those 6 months, 4 of them have been in lockdown. He's had Corona himself. He's beaten Liverpool and Man City the same week, and now he's finished with a trophy. Like, honestly, I'm so proud of them.
You can't get a better start than that, honestly.
And I think a lot of people would also point fingers towards the fact that going into this game, there was a lot of doubt considering Chelsea's recent form. But arguably, I mean, I think it should be mentioned that Arsenal themselves have had very strong and convincing form in the last month. I think you guys beat Liverpool. Who else? Tell me about that top 6 record you guys have had in recent months.
So we beat Wolves to start it off, I think. That was a convincing win.
Wolves away, yeah.
Yeah. And that's what Arteta fixed about us, is that we can win away finally. And then we beat Liverpool, we beat City in the cup. Spurs we lost to, unfortunately. That was kind of shitty, but
yeah.
Still, I think we also beat was it Leicester we drew, which was unlucky.
Mm-hmm.
But out of the top 6 teams, we're starting to perform, which is a good sign.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like this game, this trophy is like Arteta's stamp of certification. You know, like, it's proved that he can be a world-class manager. Like I mentioned, like, we've beaten City, Liverpool in the same week. We've beaten Wolves away. He's shown that he can get the most out of this team, like squeeze the lemon dry, okay, with the squad he has. And you look at the squad, like, we're lacking in depth in key areas, you know, especially defense. And honestly, like, he's proven that Arsenal are no joke, especially when it comes to the FA Cup. You know, Aubameyang wears the 14 shirt and he converts it to 14 trophies.
Yeah,
that was a brilliant piece, a brilliant masterstroke from the marketing team at Arsenal. It has to be said. One other thing, guys. I think it should also be noted that Chelsea had flying form, and I mean, they've been active in the transfer window. They confirmed Timo Werner from I think RB Leipzig, was it? And also Hakim Ziyech, who has come in from Ajax. 2 massive signings. Massive signals of intent in the transfer window already, and it looks like they're not too far away from sealing a deal for Kai Havertz from Bayer Leverkusen. What do you guys make of that? The fact that they probably have a slightly stronger squad, if not in depth, than Arsenal at the moment, but also their activity in transfer window. Does that worry you guys as Arsenal fans? Does that make you think you have a lot to do yourselves as a football club in the transfer window to catch up to the likes of Chelsea, Man United, Tottenham?
Well, right now it doesn't worry me because we still, we all know our problem here is defense, and that we're already getting Saliba. So if we can get another defender, then we'll actually really have a chance to, you know, contend for like top 4. So that's all we really need. Maybe a central defensive midfielder, like a Partey, hopefully. But like, it doesn't worry me too much. But it is a bit worrying when you see United and Chelsea like spending so much money that we know we won't spend. You know.
Yeah, for me,
That's
Zach,
it.
like it's a bit of a premature question given like today's events. I mean,
Yeah.
it's still extremely early in the summer transfer window. Yes, Chelsea have spent money on Ziyech, on Werner, and now supposedly Kai Havertz is confirmed. As Ayman mentioned, like it is concerning because like Arsenal, based on recent history, aren't able to match Chelsea's financial muscles in the transfer market. But I mean, let's talk about the game today. Like it doesn't bother me because City have a better side than us. Liverpool have a better side than us. Arguably Wolves or other teams have better sides than us. We won the game today. We won the trophy. And if you ask me, honestly, today Chelsea looked tired on the pitch. They looked really tired. Like I think they had 3 injuries out of this game. Pulisic coming off Aspilicueta. Pedro at the end with a dislocated shoulder. They
definitely started
Rudiger,
going
I
down like
think.
flies at one point.
Yeah,
I think Rudiger was subbed off. Yeah.
They were lacking fitness, man, and it showed. And whether that's due to like, I don't know, a change in tactical approach, in lack of fitness, maybe Lampard's looking ahead at the Champions League where they're 3-0 down to Bayern. I'm not sure, but definitely like Arsenal looked like they were informed today. I think it took for us, typical Arsenal, to concede an early goal for us to wake up and grow into the game. And I'm proud the boys did it at the end of the day. Like the penalty was a penalty. And that second goal from Abba, honestly, like that's a key example. That's class, and it's a key example of why the board has to do everything in their power to keep him this summer.
I agree with that. I think you need to hold on to your captain, your best player, and I think Arsenal's had a poor record of letting go of their key players and captains in recent years, which I think they need to address and make a change. One other thing before we go into what actually happened on the pitch today between these two big London clubs. Firstly, I'm going to go to you, Ayman. What do you think?
First, could I just expand on Sibi's point about how we conceded first? So that's one thing that's changed under Arteta, is that like we can actually close out games and we don't like lose composure when we actually concede early.
Good point.
It happened against Liverpool, and I think it happened against another team, I'm not sure, where we concede early, but then we close out the game. Like under Emery, we couldn't do that. Like Baku, we just lose composure. But now you can actually see the spirit in the team is lifted, like overall.
It's a mentality thing, man. Honestly,
Yeah.
like you need to be strong mentally.
A little bit of grit, a little bit of bounce back ability, fight back, and resilience.
Exactly.
For it. Yeah. So leading on to the question I was going to pose to both of you, but starting off with you, Ayman. Going into this game, who do you think winning this FA Cup final mattered to more? If we could say that. I mean, I know it's objective, but do you think it meant more to Arsenal, considering the fact that Chelsea have finished in the top 4 and have a place in the Champions League all but confirmed and sealed? Do you think it mattered more to Arsenal from a revenue standpoint, from a prestige standpoint, and from a pride standpoint, being able to compete in Europe again next season?
Yeah, I think it did mean more to Arsenal. I mean, as Arteta's first trophy, first season as well. And I think that it's going to help us with transfer market. If we didn't, I know like a lot of players, a lot of people think like Europa League isn't that important, but it does matter. Like when it comes to signing players, like players do look for that. They want to play European football, regardless of whether it's Champions League or Europa League. So I think that gives us like. Chelsea already finished top 4. We had a horrible season. Like we needed this to boost our morale, possibly even to keep Aubameyang and sign like a new contract for him. So it was definitely more important, and it showed like in their celebrations as well after the game. It really showed how much it meant to them.
Do you think that factored into the way that these teams went about their business on the pitch?
Definitely. You could see that we looked like the hungrier team on the pitch. And like our goal celebrations, everything.
And Sibi, what do you think? Do you think Chelsea didn't want it as badly as Arsenal on the day, or even in the lead up to the match?
I mean, look, I get why you asked the question because, you know, Chelsea have already qualified for the Champions League. But as I mentioned in our last podcast, this is still an equally important trophy for Lampard because you have these two young managers, both ex-players, and they're both trying to make their mark in like their club's history. You know, who's going to get it first? And you could argue that it meant more to Arsenal because, you know, we've had such a poor season. A trophy would be the silver lining to end it all. But yeah, I mean, like it's proven that the boys can go out there. They, like as Ayman mentioned, they are hungrier. They showed some more passion, and they got the trophy in the end.
And the best way to guarantee success is coincidentally to have success. So winning.
One other thing I'd mention is that honestly, for me, like as an Arsenal fan personally, this trophy is a much bigger achievement than actually qualifying for the Europa League. I think the Europa League qualification is a bonus. I mean, I agree with Ayman's points. He mentioned that, you know, European qualification, having Europe next year, is good for attracting players, as well as, you know, adding the funds to sign such players. You know.
Yeah.
But being able to like show tactical nouns from Arteta to actually like, you know, edge out and win trophies, like that's something else. That shows that the manager is actually attractive as well. You know, the manager has an attractive project that's going to be something that players look forward to.
That's a good point. And I think Arteta himself has a certain allure about him, the way he goes about himself, the way he carries himself and speaks about the club, about his philosophy, about his objectives of shifting and changing and bringing about a new culture at the club. And this word culture, especially in football terms, has been kind of waved about and thrown out there in recent times. What does culture mean to you, Ayman, in a football sense?
I mean, it's very important. That's what motivates the players and the legacy and the history of the club as well. So, I mean, of course, it means a lot. Arsenal is a team with like a lot of history and a lot of culture as well. So, like, Arteta understands that. He's been under Wenger. He's won the FA Cup as the captain of Arsenal before as well. And so he knows what it means to be part of this big club. And that's what I feel like Emery probably didn't understand the identity of the club as well as Arteta does. So, I mean, of course, culture is very important.
And Sibi, do you feel that perhaps Chelsea doesn't quite have that same cultural approach to the game? Do you feel that Chelsea's culture is something not so much rooted in a long, illustrious footballing history, but something quite modern, something kind of since that Abramovich takeover and Jose Mourinho coming in and them finally challenging for the Premier League title, obviously achieving on the European front in both the Champions League and the Europa League, not to mention the same exact fixture that we witnessed today in the Europa League last season. Do you think that culture is a novel concept for a club like Chelsea compared to the likes of Arsenal?
Listen, man, like it's a strange question for you to ask because I don't think Chelsea have a club culture. Honestly, like their history is I'd say prepubescent, without being disrespectful. I mean, they've been around since 2005.
There are a few Chelsea fans that would disagree with you.
Of course, I mean, and they have the trophies, trophy cabinet to argue with that, you know. But
right.
But how do you instill? Tell me, how do you instill a club culture when you're axing managers every 2 seasons? When you know you're signing and releasing players every season, like
but could that not be their culture?
But I still feel like that Lampard is still bringing a culture into the team because, you know, he's playing the youth players, Tammy Abraham. Like throughout the season, it is impressive that he got them top 4 with all these youth players at the end of the day, you know, like it's not like they had the transfer ban and everything, so
listen, I mean, for me, club culture is a very complex subject. Like, probably no one I can explain as well as managers who are at the top of the game, you know. But for me, it has 2 key components. One, which is the mentality, like the winning mentality that you impose on your players at the club, and 2, like in the immortal words of Mourinho, there's football heritage. You know, like there's the club's history. Those two go hand in hand. Zach and Ayman, like really, like Chelsea has got the one part, which is, you know, they've won trophies in recent history, and maybe Lampard's trying to impose his own mentality on the team, but the two can be disjointed at times because you're not going to be able to match the quality of the club of the players you have in your squad, and you know, educate them on a history that's very, very recent and very, very short-lived. Do you know what I mean?
But if that being said,
let me finish. Just to give you like a good example, a good comparison. You know, so like Aubameyang and Lacazette have been in the club like 2-3 years now. They haven't won anything, but they know like through like the club's identity, and it's been told them by, I'm sure, by Arteta, by the board, by Edu, by the guys that are there, that this club has won the FA Cup 13 times, and you're gonna make it 14. You know, like that message is very, very powerful because it shows that like no matter who's in the squad, this club has class, it has history, and the manager is there to impose the right mentality, which allows him to succeed and achieve that vision and carry on that legacy. That's what I want to say.
Very, very passionate epilogue about Arsenal's footballing culture there. I love that. But one thing I wanted to mention perhaps was, I understand the culture that you mentioned with clubs of the ilk of Arsenal, Manchester United, Liverpool, of course. But Chelsea, I think, are a club on the up because regardless of not having that prestigious history or kind of legacy of winning trophies or competing at the very top level for the few decades, they have in the last decade, absolutely, the last couple. But could it not be that their culture, in fact, is the incomings and outgoings of managers and still guaranteeing and breeding success and still attracting top talent from around the world? I mean, that surely could arguably be Chelsea's culture, albeit a comparatively, excuse my phrase, plastic one, but it still works for them. That model still works for the Chelsea Football Club. They still win trophies.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. It's a culture, but like, is that a culture you want to have as a fan? Honestly,
well, that depends on the fan, doesn't it?
A hall of fame of 1,000 managers and 1,000 players that you're going to forget in 5 years.
Listen, like, before this
today,
they were competing with West Ham.
So today, like, I didn't even realize. I completely forgot. Like it escaped my mind that Pedro was still at Chelsea.
He's also a Premier League winner with Chelsea. It has to be said. But anyway, moving on. That was certainly interesting. Let's look over the match, shall we? It was definitely a nervy opening 10 minutes for Arsenal, having gone behind in the opening minutes of the game with the shaky start at the back. We're actually going to be doing a watch along of key moments from the Arsenal-Chelsea FA Cup final from earlier today. These are available for anyone to watch on the Emirates FA Cup YouTube channel, which can be easily found on YouTube wherever you are in the world. Although viewership may be restricted depending on your region. We are located in Dubai and the United States, respectively, at the moment. So we're going to be doing a watch along, and you'll be able to listen to the audio, but we will also do our best to describe what we're viewing and discuss it simultaneously. So, Sibi, if you want to go ahead and proceed with the clip.
Yeah, okay, so we're going to start with the first goal here from Chelsea. Maybe Zaran, you can commentate what's happening.
Absolutely. So, Christian Pulisic running through the middle, playing the ball wide to Mason Mount. There's a confusion there in the box as Pulisic picks up the ball, goes right past his man, Kieran Tierney, and just slots it into the bottom left corner. Now, boys, that was a delightful little back heel there from Giroud as well to lead it into Pulisic's path. Boys, what do you make of this goal? If you want to stop the clip right there so we can discuss and dissect this little moment. A lot of fingers will be pointing once again to Arsenal's almost statuesque defending, you could say. What do you make of it, Sibi, first and foremost?
Yeah, I watched the goal back. Like, I see that our defenders just backed off. Like, Holding and Luis were just backing off, and then when you back off so much, you're out of space. and then you're kind of just caught in your own box, the keeper's box, and you haven't got much room to maneuver yourself. Chelsea outplayed us here, and as I mentioned earlier, like this goal, like I think before leading up to this goal, the Arsenal squad were asleep. Like I think we lacked energy, we weren't focused, and it clearly shows in the replay.
Do you think that could be down to something like nerves, possibly? The FA Cup final jitters.
Yeah, definitely, man. I think honestly, like I mean, I'm certain that the players knew what this final meant. It is a final after all. Some might be feeling pressure, and I think honestly a big factor in this game, which doesn't get mentioned enough, is there's no fans in the stadium.
Yeah.
There's no support, you know, and Arsenal usually have a good record at Wembley, but like that's also due to the fans being there to support their team.
I think we needed the wake-up call anyway. We started off really slow, and this is not something new. Like this happens all the time with Arsenal. We just start off lazy, slow. We let them have the ball. We don't press enough, and then as soon as we concede that goal, like the same happened against City. The first 20 minutes we were vulnerable, but like this time Chelsea took their opportunity, and when that happens, you know, like it's just you have to bounce back from that, I guess. But they definitely started better than us for the first 20 minutes, and it was a great goal by Pulisic. Honestly, dribble, finish, everything.
Do you think Arsenal gave too much respect to Chelsea in the midfield in the opening stages of today's game, Ayman?
I think that was more of Arteta's tactic, maybe like break on the counter quick, let them have the ball in the midfield, and then just punish them because we know how vulnerable they are at the back. But I think we did give them too much space and too much time to pass around. But at the end of the day, they didn't have many shots and they didn't have many clear-cut chances. I think we had more chances than them at the end. But yeah.
Do you feel this shows a kind of tactical flexibility from Mikel Arteta? Like, I mean, we've seen Arsenal dominate the ball, keeping the ball possession, driving the tempo of matches against teams that do play with the lower block traditionally. But also, I think recently, especially with the Man City semi-final, where you guys famously knocked them out of the tournament. No one that I know of, aside from maybe a handful of Arsenal fans, just felt that Man City would absolutely wash you guys and kind of leave you hung out to dry. Do you think this shows that Arteta, similar to perhaps Solskjaer at Man United, prefers to play on the counter, on the break against these bigger top six juggernaut sides? That's to either of you.
Yeah, he keeps his game plan usually, which is like play around from the back. We do that against like most teams we play. So like now it feels like we have an identity and a certain play style. So I mean, against top sides, we definitely like switch it up with our we play more defensive with 3 at the back and then 2 wing backs. And we even started playing Ainsley on the left because we know like players like Pulisic and players like Mahrez, they like to cut in on their stronger foot. And if you have that stronger footed wing back like on the other side, you'll literally block the cut in. So I mean, yeah, I think he does switch up how he plays against bigger teams.
So what you mentioned there about Arteta liking to, preferring playing out of the back, Sibi, we did see a little bit of that under Unai Emery, did we not?
Yeah, it seems to be like the go-to tactic in the modern game. I mean, Arteta himself has said, like, he's been asked about this, like, we see your team playing out the back and they're under pressure, and like it's almost cost us a few times. Like remember the Liverpool game where Firmino tried to catch a deflection from Martinez. Man City putting Mustafi under pressure, who's not very comfortable in the ball. But Arteta himself has said that the problem with just kicking it long is it comes straight back. Like he'd rather train his players to have a strong mentality to be able to be comfortable playing out the back under pressure, and keeping possession of the ball and working that towards the flanks where you have the likes of Aubameyang, of Pepe, Maitland-Niles, and Tierney, and like working the ball down those channels. That's like our main source of attack, right? So you're only going to be able to achieve that properly, like safely, through playing at the back.
Practice makes perfect, but also perhaps recruitment could perfect and iron out a lot of the nerves and mistakes that playing out of the back can and when under pressure, especially against a side like Chelsea, who in the early stages of this game definitely did press that Arsenal backline quite aggressively.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure Lampard's told the likes of Pulisic and Giroud to like press that backline as much as possible because very few of them are comfortable in the ball. They're not natural ball playing defenders mostly.
Right. As we said though, David Luiz did quite well today. From what I saw, I was impressed.
I would say David Luiz is the most natural ball playing defender we have, followed by Rob Holding. Although Rob Holding hasn't looked the same since injury, but just to comment on Ayman's point about Arteta switching up the tactics based on who we're playing, like I think we've noticed that since Arteta's tenure started, his system naturally is the 4-3-3. He's only adopting this 3-4-3 at the back system against sides because he realizes that we haven't got the depth, we haven't got the quality to match these teams defensively. David Luiz is more comfortable playing in a 3 than he is in a 2. So these are the system works, and definitely it's bringing results. But I wouldn't look at it as a long-term solution because definitely we need to recruit better quality players, as you mentioned, in those areas, and naturally evolve into Arteta's vision.
Interesting that you mentioned Rob Holding hasn't looked the same. I hope that's not a jibe at the man's hairline. Going ahead, with all due respect to Mr. Holding, he did play rather well today. Let's move on to the next highlight here, Sibi. Let's see
just
how
one
Arsenal
point actually.
responded.
One
Sure.
other point, by the way, just regarding Rob Holding.
Yeah.
I think I remember it was last season when just after Rob Holding injured his ACL, I think Bernd Leno, the goalkeeper at the time, was asked, he was asked a question about playing at the back, something along those lines, and he was saying yeah, we miss Rob because Rob is at the time he was the best defender with the ball at his feet. So naturally, Leno was passing the ball out to Holding, and Holding was distributing to the likes of Xhaka or Torreira in midfield to start the attack. That's the only reason I say he hasn't looked the same, because he looks less comfortable in the ball when it's being played at the back.
It was definitely a very significant blow, that injury. I mean, I don't know if everyone listening is familiar, but that ACL injury can make or break some careers, especially depending on what stage of your career that can happen to you. But it's fantastic to see Holding for Arsenal and at the very highest level of English football. It's tremendous, and now he's got an FA Cup final for his efforts, right? So anyway, let's continue and see how Arsenal bounced back after going down after just 6 minutes in the FA Cup final. So a long ball over the top, and Azpilicueta absolutely all over Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, who I think has him completely beaten for pace here. He's holding him, although the contact did start outside of the box. It has to be said, the foul itself occurred well inside the box. And after a VAR review, the penalty was in fact given and converted masterfully, it has to be said, by Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, Arsenal's number 14, wearing the captain's armband. What do you guys make of all this?
I have a question. Ayman, did you watch Lacazette's pre-match conference interview?
The one from yesterday or from today?
I think it was earlier today or yesterday. I'm not sure.
I watched bits of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there was a funny question. It was a question asked by Carrie Brown from beIN Sports to Lacazette. She was talking about how in previous games Jorginho was notorious for pulling down players and getting away with it. And then she brought up how
the dark arts.
How we learned recently that Adama Traore at Wolves has baby oil applied to his arms so that he can slip through. So she was asking Lacazette, do you think any of the Arsenal players are gonna use the baby oil in this game? No, I find it funny that's the kind of tackle we saw.
I might start using that actually.
Yeah. Yeah, bro. Johnson.
Baby Johnson.
It's like
Yeah.
just plug that. Just
I mean,
plug
yeah,
that product there.
we're looking for a sponsor for this podcast, so we need to let that
But I think brilliant run there, great ball over the top and in behind, and Aubameyang did.
I think
really
it should have
well.
been a
I think he
red
brought it
card.
up.
I
Do
think it
you?
should have been a red card.
I don't know. I don't know if Aspilicueta was the last man. I think Rudiger may have.
No, he definitely was like. And
Let's watch the
also,
back real
if it
quick.
was a free kick, I think it would have been a red card. But like David Luiz has got red cards for less than that before. So I don't know. I think that's why he ended up card later
Actually,
on. Was because he felt bad.
on review, you want to take that back a touch, Sibi? It does look like Aspilicueta and Aubameyang are ahead of the rest of the play, and Rudiger is catching up.
Yeah.
Just
It's a
take it back
one-on-one.
one more. I want to get a better look at this, Sibi. I think Aspilicueta may have been the last man. Oh, that's tight. That's really close. That is really close. I think by the time Aubameyang does go down, Rudiger is beyond the foul. So that would have been a harsh one. That would have definitely been a harsh red card. I think a yellow card is warranted. It wasn't a clear goal scoring opportunity, in my opinion.
With Aubameyang, though.
But I think you have to also give credit to the fact that
what a finish.
his pace would have taken him well beyond. But yeah, sending Caballero, who's quite well known for his shot stopping from penalties in general. He sent him for a kebab in Equatorial Guinea and absolutely smashes that ball into this inside side netting on the right hand side. Brilliant penalty. I mean, there aren't many other players that are in the current Arsenal squad that you put ahead of Aubameyang for a spot kick of this magnitude, is there, guys?
I mean, it's a very advanced technique, and it's been spoken about before. It's like if you notice clearly, like Aubameyang, as he takes the penalty, like he tilts his body in a manner that fools Caballero to thinking he's going to shoot left, and that sends Caballero diving the wrong way. Like it's a very last minute, last second, like very minute detail.
Essentially, cheating the keeper to commit before he strikes the ball.
Exactly.
And even if he went the right way, he's not saving that. That's bottom.
I thought that was a really well hit penalty and hit with his instep as well.
Yeah, that's a classic. Aubameyang classic.
Yeah. About Black Cat Yang.
Exactly, and it's not even a question who has the better Argentinian keeper. We have Martinez, and I think he should start for Argentina. Honestly, he should.
Yeah. And he's been at the club for how long, guys?
Almost, I think, more than 10 years.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I thought...
Since he's been 17.
So. He's been the number 2 when Arteta was playing.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was Ospina.
No, Ospina was number 1.
Was he? Ospina was number 1 before you guys signed Petr Cech from Chelsea.
Yeah.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
He's been number 2. He was number 2 for Czech, number 2 for Chesney, number 2 for Ospina, number 2 for Leno. Now he's getting his chance and he's taking it. I think he should. I don't know. I don't want to say anything bad about Leno because he saved us so many times. It's just gonna be like interesting. Who gets the
who? This is to both of you again. Who do you guys think is the more equipped goalkeeper with the way that Arteta wants to play out of the back? Do you think it's Bernd Leno or Martinez?
Hard to say, but I'd say Martinez is definitely better on the ball and with passing and his passing range as well. He knows when to pass it, play it short, and he knows when to, spread it out long or to the wings. He seems really confident. Sometimes Leno gets caught, and we've seen it before, where he gets caught with his passing or, We haven't seen that with Martinez yet this season.
Honestly, I'd say Leno is an amazing shot stopper, but Martinez has like those other attributes which add to what Leno doesn't have, where he edges him out. Not just in shot stopping, but also, like as Ayman mentioned, in distribution, his passing. He's comfortable in the ball. He's commanding in his box. He'll catch balls rather than like fist them away like most keepers might. And I mean, he's like since the restart, he's made some spectacular saves. That save against Liverpool.
Oh my God! Trent Arnold's shot that was deflected.
Yeah, It was going top right corner, like top.
I
Bits,
keep
top
saying
corner.
best save of the season. I keep saying it. But...
Yeah, I'd put it up there honestly. Honestly, like I've said, Arteta has an issue now because he hasn't got number 1, number 2. He's got 2 number 1s.
Right. I've heard that before.
He has the wingspan of a pterodactyl. This guy. He's 6'4", 6'4". That's a presence in goal, you know.
Yeah, and he's absolutely. And you could also see for a young man, he does possess a lot of confidence, and he definitely.
I mean, he's not that young anymore. He's 27. I'd say these are his peak years right now, and.
So yeah, I mean, good time for him to get this opportunity. A run.
He's taking it well. You can see how much he wants it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And right now, like Leno is 28, he's 27, and Martinez still is on his contract from years and years ago. So he's probably our lowest paid player, like 30K a week. I know that's still a lot, but for a football player, that's not. I think he should get a new contract. He deserves.
He probably will. I think his performances in the latter stage of this season for Arsenal definitely warrant him getting a new and improved deal in the summer. Guys, I know this key moments highlight reel isn't showing one moment that did come before that penalty and foul, which was Nicolas Pepe getting a layoff from Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, who incidentally received the ball from an offside Maitland-Niles, which resulted in a VAR disallowance. But
what a finish!
He absolutely bent into the top left corner past an onlooking Caballero. What do you guys make of that? He had a great game today, I thought, Nicolas Pepe. Maybe starting to buy back a little bit of that transfer value. What do you guys think?
I think he would have been man of the match if Aubameyang didn't score both the goals. Honestly,
yeah, 100%. 100%.
So dangerous in the attack. Like someone, I think DT or someone was saying that the Chelsea players were socially distancing from him.
Yeah, bro, he was fucking with our lights, man. He was fucking with the lights.
Yeah,
literally, like lights off. The defenders can't see shit. Pepe's in and out. You know, when that ball went in like top corner, honestly, like it happened so fast. I wasn't sure where the ball was. I was like, is that in the net? It's in the net. You know. And then
he got that assist for the second goal. So you know,
yeah.
No, honestly, like as Ayman mentioned, he'd be man of the match if it wasn't for Oba.
Yeah.
Oba's brace.
We segue into this, kind of talk about Nicolas Pepe from the goalkeeper conversation. Ayman, I think it was you that told me Nicolas Pepe was a goalkeeper in his youth initially.
Apparently, I read that somewhere. Like when he was like,
he's got the size for it.
Yeah, he does. But and then apparently he was like too good, like outfield. Like they played him striker one day and he scored like 12 goals or something. And don't be a keeper.
That's crazy. And he's coming in, right before probably, traditionally his prime years as well. I think that could be one of the masterstrokes of the post-Wenger era. What do you guys think?
Could you repeat your question? You cut out.
Or you cut out for a bit.
Sorry, guys. I was just saying the acquisition of Nicolas Pepe, as he is approaching his peak years within the next 3 or 4 seasons, we could look back at that in a couple of years' time and see it as possibly one of the masterstrokes of the post-Wenger era.
I mean, the guy's had a pretty good season for the circumstances he's been in. You know, like he's played under 3 managers. He hasn't started some of these games. He's been in and out of form, but he's shown what he can do. Like I think the games where he hasn't performed as well have been mainly due to who's playing behind him. You know,
exactly.
He seemed to combine better with Ainsley Maitland-Niles. Sometimes Bellerin is coming into the play, but that's a matter of adaptability, right, from the team. Like it's the squad's still gelling together in terms of attacking on that right hand side. You know,
I think Bellerin now has kind of noticed how Pepe plays, and they have a better partnership. Like we saw, and had that great run for the second goal, which led to Pepe passing it to Aubameyang.
That's exactly what we're going to lead into right now. Ahmed, if you want to go ahead with the clip. That this surging run from deep from Hector Bellerin beats a man. Christensen brings him down. He takes a tumble. Pepe picks up the pieces. switches it left to Aubameyang, who absolutely turns the Chelsea backline inside and
Dink.
out, and then dinks the ball with his left foot before reeling away and doing that iconic celebration. What a finish! What a moment from Arsenal's leading goal scorer and captain. Guys, this shows Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang in all his glory. What do you make of this goal? What did you make of this moment in the tie?
I mean, this just shows like why he's a top class striker, man. I mean, look at this. He receives the ball, entering the box. He fakes the pass to Pepe.
Shot.
Yeah, dinks the keeper first time. Like honestly, not many strikers can do that. Like I think he's really at the top of his game, and this is like a key example of why Arsenal have to keep him this summer. Give the man what he wants.
We can't replace those goals. Like we cannot.
All right, where did we cut off?
At the goal, I think.
Yeah.
Aubameyang and how Arsenal desperately need to hold on to him going into next season.
Yeah, man, just give the guy what he wants, honestly. Like if it's
50K a week, yeah.
If it's 50K a week, like honestly, like that's worth it. We ship out Socrates, we release Ozil, we pay the guy what he's owed, like we keep Oba down there. You're not replacing him.
Speaking of that, Mesut Ozil, interestingly enough, not seen anywhere on the television shots, at least. Not even a part of the celebrations when Arsenal lifted the FA Cup trophy. A man on his way, guys?
It's been rumored that he is actually currently in Turkey.
Oh.
So,
really?
Yeah, apparently he's in Turkey. Honestly, unless the club comes in for him, I don't see him leaving this summer.
Even his agent said that he's not going to leave.
Oh. Yeah, really? I mean, honestly, though, like, just playing devil's advocate here, putting myself in his shoes. Why would you leave? You're earning 350K a week. You're living in London. You just got married. You're happy. Like, you're enjoying life. You don't have to play too much football. You know.
He does love the club as well, and he still has a lot of fans that always come.
Well, I'm not sure about that, Ayman, because like one, I know there's like a big Ozil chunk of the fan base which have transitioned from Real Madrid when he first signed. And I know the guy does post a lot of "Ya Gunners Ya" hashtags. Okay. But you have to also understand that Ozil for a long time has been carrying his name as a brand. He's had the Adidas sponsorship, which has recently been dropped.
He wears Mercurials now. Shout out.
Shout out Mercurial.
Sponsor me.
Yeah. So like the guy is very good in terms of like his branding. He's got the right guys doing his social media. Like the club, is they gonna shame him? He's not gonna shame himself. I'm pretty sure, like I have a certain degree of certainty that there are clauses in his contract related to like the marketing aspect of Ozil as a player at the club. Like in instances where he's being left out, he's been frozen out the squad, but we're hearing that he has a cold, he's got a back injury. Like
we've heard it all, haven't we? From
honestly, unless he's clapping his wife's cheeks like every 2 hours, he hasn't got chronic back pain, man. Like let's be real, okay? And as I mentioned,
right now with Miss Turkey,
Miss Turkey, exactly. So he's not leaving unless the club comes in for him, and a club is unlikely to come in for him unless they're willing to pay those wages.
Yeah. And no one's gonna pay those wages. Let's be honest.
And honestly, it's a bit of a toxic addition to the dressing room, because now you have the likes of Socrates Papadopoulos, who's taking inspiration. You can say better than I can. He's now taking inspiration from this and saying, yeah, you know what, I'm gonna fight for my place too. Like I want to stay at Arsenal, even though he's been frozen out by Arteta as well. Not due to like any kind of attitude reasons, just in terms of quality. Like we need to replace these guys, right? So.
And how do you think that makes Aubameyang feel as well? That he's Ozil is on 350k a week, and all he wants is 250k a week, and you see what he does for the team as well. You know, like Ozil, even when he's on the pitch, and Arteta did play him at the start for a few games, still didn't contribute that much with 0 assists and I think 1 goal.
I mean, yeah, it's gonna have an effect on his on the way he thinks of the club, Aubameyang. But just a question, like, is it confirmed that Auba is the one asking for 250, or is it 250 offered by the club?
I'm not sure. I think
because the last thing I heard, which is a bit of a cryptic message from Aubameyang's dad, and like I think Arsenal fans know that the Aubameyang family, being his brother Willie and his dad, are quite active on social media in terms of Auba and like his time at the club.
Yeah.
So his dad said something along the lines of, the media like to chat shit. They don't know what they're talking about. They don't know that like us, and I forgot the word is. It's a term used to describe like Aubameyang's people from Gabon, like
Gabonese.
Gabonese, I believe is the word.
No, it's not Gabonese. It's the name of their tribe, I think. It's a Gabonese word. Yeah. So he said like this insert word here, like in our tradition, it's the father who makes decisions for the family, which I don't know if this is true or going to be applied, but he's implying that the dad himself is going to have influence over Aubameyang's decision to stay at the club or not. So yeah, I mean, like I said, like we have to keep him. I think
he did say that he wouldn't want to go to like another Premier League team. That if it's like someone like a Barcelona or something, that he might consider. So at least that's a good sign. I can't believe if we give him to United, like I'll cry. Honestly.
Yeah. So Sibi, going back to your point about what Aubameyang's father did say, he said, and quote, and this is from the Tribal Football website: "For the rest of your career, we have to make the right decision. There's a lot of talk in the press. They don't know that we are Bantus and there is a hierarchy. Yeah. The decision is taken after the advice of the sage, who is your father. We will be settled very quickly. Sleep easy, my son. Your father is watching over the grain." Wise man and strong words. He clearly takes his son's footballing affairs very seriously, as he should. And Aubameyang is in high stock. I believe here in the US, we were watching the game on ESPN. And with all due respect to their coverage, they do have some dodgy punditry, but that's my personal opinion.
Steve Deco, man.
They did have Aubameyang's goals and assist stats over the last 5 seasons, including some from his time at Borussia Dortmund. Staggering numbers. Ayman, what do you make of this?
You don't see any other player put those kind of numbers up in the Premier League consistently in a declining team, let's be honest.
Oh, true. That's a fair point. I like that you tail-ended that.
The guy is
he would have been golden boot
record
two years in a row.
The guy has beaten Henry's record of fastest 50 goals at Arsenal. Like that speaks for itself. We don't need to talk too much about it. We all in agreement that Aubameyang is a top world-class player, right? But just going to your point about like what his father said, it's a very common thing. When you're signing a player, you're dealing with the player, his agent, his family, his whole entourage. Like these players are these top players are operating as sort of mini companies or mini startups in a way. You know, like what's that?
They're essentially a brand.
Yeah, they're a brand. You know, you could like Pogba, Aubameyang, even Pepe. You know, like when the boys went down to Dubai for their warm weather training, you know, they brought like their family and their entourage with them. You know, they're all renting Rolls Royces. Like they have their own individual micro groups outside of football, which have influence on their decision making. You know, and just going a bit back to what we were talking about when we were talking about Mesut Ozil. I think a key indicator here of like a key difference between Arteta's man management and Emery's man management at Arsenal was Arteta has decided that, okay, I'm going to freeze Ozil off the squad. I see the issue with him very early on. I don't want to have him around my players. He's out. Same with Guendouzi. Emery froze Ozil out, tried playing Torreira in a 10, started losing like fans' confidence, and then collapsed and brought Ozil back in. if you have that kind of player who's affecting the dressing room in that negative way, you can't freeze them out and bring them back in. That undermines your authority at the club and undermines your leadership. And I think I'm proud that Arteta is stuck with his guns on this one.
Yeah.
Have you lost track again? Okay.
No, you haven't. I'm here. That's a strong point. And interestingly enough, I found this quote on Twitter where Robin van Persie was in the studio with Rio Ferdinand and was asked, Robin, do you think if Aubameyang stays at Arsenal, he has a chance at winning the Premier League next year? Where Ferdinand interjects and said, I'll answer that for Robin because it's a hard question for him to answer. No. Now, the big prizes. We are all well aware, and we've discussed at some considerable length, Aubameyang's pedigree and tier 1 record. The stats speak for themselves. The performances scream even louder. He's at the peak of his powers at the moment. He's Arsenal's captain, leading goal scorer, talisman, and has just clinched them their record 14th FA Cup final today. What is going to keep him at the club? He clearly has an affinity with the fans. He clearly has a passion for the club. But surely, a player of his caliber, having only performed in the wonder years of his professional career at Borussia Dortmund, where I believe he did win one Bundesliga title, and then Arsenal thereafter, the allure of trophies, do you think that's feasible within the time frame of his peak years? What do you guys think?
I have an answer for that. But
okay, go ahead.
I'll go first. So yeah, so I know for example, Lacazette has said in his pre-match conference something about signing new players next season, because the squad already shows they believe in Arteta and his vision, the way he plays. They have a good relationship with him, and that's a good start, right? Oba is now in his prime. It's clear for everyone to see. For us to be able to challenge for titles, to compete for those big trophies, that's going to require investment in the transfer market. If you invest too low, you're going to end up buying cheaper, younger players, which will develop over time. And the time it takes to develop might end up meaning that by the time they're ready, Oba is past his peak, or Pep is past his peak, or so on, right? If you invest big, if you buy the key star players who are going to be starting your 11 and don't need much time to develop their game, then yes, you can challenge for trophies. There's no reason why you can't. And on top of that, Arteta's already shown that he can beat these big teams in the 6 months he's been here.
I agree, and also if Aubameyang continues like this, he will be an Arsenal legend, potentially have a statue, all this. I'm sure he'd love that. You can see that he loves the club and that he's kind of created a connection with the fans. No other player, I think, in the Premier League has that kind of connection with the fans, on social media and everything, about with the fans. So honestly, I agree with Sibi's points that if we buy realistically one top centre back, a defensive midfielder, and probably a creator, we can challenge. We can challenge for top 4 definitely, domestic cups and other trophies as well. I'm sure we can. We've reached 3 finals in the last 3 years in some years as Arsenal Football Club. Last year with the Europa, which we got smacked, and then the Carabao Cup against City, which we also got smacked. But still, we're reaching finals in a team that's not performing that well. So now that we have Arteta, we can see a positive change in how we play as well, and that we can close out games and win trophies. I think if we pay Aubameyang what he wants, he'll want to stay. He's happy, he's comfortable at Arsenal.
He's adjusted well to life in North London, it has to be said. And I think that reflects in his performances on the pitch. Hopefully, Arsenal does wrap up their business early in regards to extending, renewing, or improving contracts for key players such as Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang and even Martinez in goal. That iconic front flip celebration there from Aubameyang. We're just continuing on in the clip of that goal that sealed the 14th FA Cup final victory for Arsenal Football Club today on this year, 1st of August 2020. Iconic. Arsenal making history. Arteta yielding his blade up against Chelsea throats and making his mark as Arsenal manager. What do you guys make of that? All-time highest, all-time most FA Cup triumphs for any football club in English football history. 14.
Listen, it's the Emirates FA Cup. Arsenal sponsor Emirates. This is the Arsenal Cup. Let's not get it twisted.
Yeah.
This is our cup. Where our record at Wembley is just, Arteta has won more trophies in 6 months than Spurs have in a decade. Let's just,
Yeah.
put that in your head.
Hands down, man.
We can
Brilliant.
we win trophies no matter how badly we play. We can still win trophies and compete. And also, just to make another point on the Aubameyang, Arteta feels like, he said in his post-match conference that, he's kind of confident that Aubameyang will sign based on how like the communications are going and everything. And we've already seen that we've locked down Saka on a new contract. I know a lot of teams like Liverpool wanted him as well, and then Martinelli also on another contract. I think Dani Ceballos, we're going to get him on another loan. So we can see that like with the new board, Ralstonelli and everything, that we're closing deals and we can actually get players to sign. We had this problem like under Wenger and Emery where we couldn't. But I feel like with Arteta, things are changing because he's seen how they, make deals happen at City. So he's brought that to Arsenal, I feel.
Yeah, I think honestly, keeping Oba this summer would be the biggest signing of the season.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Biggest signing of the season, and as Ayman mentioned, like the board's doing work. I imagine there like are contingencies that Oba wanted for him to stay. It could have been winning the FA Cup, playing in Europe again. It could also be, I imagine, like who are you bringing in to play with me next season?
Yeah.
Maybe
a Coutinho for Guendouzi. Let's see.
Yeah. I mean, should we talk about ins and outs in terms of transfers?
Yeah. So moving on to transfers, I think there are many football fans. I know our podcast is called the Armchair Managers. There are many fans local fans in the UK, which I guess Ayman is now as well. They love to talk about the international fan bases of especially these larger, well-known top 6 football clubs in England and across continental Europe as armchair fans who kind of jump on the bandwagon and follow clubs just based on pedigree, success, and glory. That being said, it has to be something that we talk about openly here, that it isn't as easy as people would naively assume to get rid of players. It's not as simple as it is on FIFA career mode. It isn't even as straightforward as it could be, arguably on Football Manager, which Sippy and I have loved spending a lot of our pandemic days playing. What do you guys make of that? Offloading players that aren't featuring in the squad. How do you sell a player that isn't generating interest in the market from other clubs and isn't justifying their wage? What do you guys think?
It's hard for Arsenal because our wage structure is like so fucked up, pardon my language, but it honestly is. With the Ozil, for example, even Mkhitaryan, like he's on crazy wages, and I think he's
on Man United wages.
Yeah, stupid wages basically.
Yeah.
Not only that, Mustafi is above 100k, Kolasinac, all these kind of players, they're on high wages that they don't deserve, to be honest. And it's going to be hard for them to like leave the club because they're in London, they're Arsenal, high wages. Why would they want to go? So it's going to be tough.
I mean, yeah, like the Ozil situation kind of fucked it up in terms of the wage structure. If you ask me, I would have rather like kept Sanchez and Ozil now in hindsight. Kolasinac is on high wages, but we should like note that he signed on a free. And usually players sign on a free like will command higher wages because they want like a piece of the pie. To answer your question, Zach, how did you get players to leave? Yes, I mentioned London, living in London, playing at Arsenal is a very attractive prospect. It's a nice city to live in. First, you have to get the player to like want to go, right? And on top of that, you have to generate some kind of value. You know, like players like Mustafi. If we had to try to sell him, like last season, for all we know, we could have had offers for Mustafi the past 2 seasons, but they could have been just too low to justify what we've already spent on them.
Yeah, instant rejections.
Yeah, so
I
now
think AC Milan offered like 20.
Yeah, and honestly, the Italian league might suit him in terms of pace, in terms of level.
I mean, Chris Maldini, he's flourished at Roma this season on loan.
Yeah, so I want to ask Ayman a question actually. So like I've seen like Mustafi has now been playing much better under Arteta. Like he's arguably like now in the top echelon of centre backs at Arsenal.
Yeah.
At Arsenal.
Yeah. Would you see him leaving next season? Like next season, do you want him to? Do you think now is the time to sell? That we've like upped his stock?
If anything, keep him for a year. But I think because we already signed, we extended Mari. Signed Mari. We gave Luis a contract for a year. And then we have Holding. We need to get rid of some. If anything, I feel like Arteta must have boosted Mustafi's market price because of how he's played recently. And if we can get like some good money for him, I'd say fine, it's time to go. I'd say even Chamber, loan out Rob Holding. We need to get rid of players, new talent. So the only way, this is the problem with Arsenal. They get a connection with these players and get scared to let them go. Sometimes we just get rid of them if they're not performing week in, week out.
Yeah, I mean we've got like a fuck ton of center backs at the club right now.
Yeah, it's actually surprising how many we have.
And none of them really guarantee their starting spot, do they?
Exactly.
Yeah, because the like it's hard to say there's competition because the pedigree is so low. You've got Luis, Mari, Chambers, Holding, Mustafi, Socrates, and now Saliba. That's 7. Did I miss anyone?
That's a lot of players.
Mavropanos on loan.
Mavropanos. Wait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's on loan, isn't he, Mavropanos?
Yeah. Chambers. Did you say Chambers?
I'm pretty sure it's Chambers. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's 8. 8 center backs. And funny enough, Luis and Mari are probably leading the pack there. Saliba's just come in, so we can't really judge him yet. Like these other 5, like at least 2 or 3 of them have to go this summer for me.
2 or 3.
And that leads me into my next question, guys. Recruitment. I know you guys have a technical director, I believe, who deals with your transfers.
Edu Gaspar.
So explain this new approach. I think you've had it in place now for 2 seasons, if I'm not wrong.
This was the second season. Yeah.
So how do you guys feel about this new transfer approach, this new approach to the running of the club?
I mean, so far it seems to be working. We're negotiating much better. The board are being smart with their finances, especially in terms of what they're leaking to the press, like what the media knows about us. I think I told you last summer, it was rumored that we had 40 million to spend. We end up signing Tierney for 27 million, Gabriel Martinelli for 7 million, William Saliba, who we loaned back to Saint Etienne for I think around 10 or 20 million. I can't remember the exact figure. And Nicola Pepe for 72 million on installments.
Didn't Saliba cost like 30, 40 million?
Something like that, but like honestly, that's whether it's installments or not, that's at least more than 40 million up front.
Yeah.
Like the club are putting up a smokescreen because when I hear now this summer, we only have 34 million to spend, it's the same trick again, and people are falling for it, and I'm happy they're falling for it because
then we can get players for less.
That gives us more negotiating room, and like I hear fans crying about the board not willing to pay up for Thomas Partey because Atletico want 50 million up front, nothing less. I'm okay with the bid getting rejected over and over again. Because as far as it goes right now, no other club is in for him. If other clubs are competing for the player that you want, that's when you have to speed things up and pay up the money. If no one else is bidding for this player, then take your time, drive the price down, negotiate. Look at the
Get this
prospect.
man a contract. Get Sibi as your new technical director today.
No, I'm just saying, man. Like honestly, the only concerning thing I might have seen so far is Upamecano extending his contract at RB Leipzig.
Mhm.
But like, I mean, there are other defenders out there. Like, honestly, he's not the only ball playing defender that there is in the league. You know.
We've been looking at another defender. I forgot his name, but you'd be like a bit cheaper than Upamecano, I think, in the French
Is
league.
his name
as well.
Sar or something?
Something like that. Yeah, it is.
I believe Upamecano just extended his contract, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, that's what I just said. So honestly, I'm not so concerned because recruitment so far in terms of identifying players has been good. You know, like the board isn't like Man United's board where we're gonna like go for the the first thing that comes to mind. Oh, we want to wing back. Who's the best wing back in the league? Aaron Bissaka. Or let's go get Jadon Sancho. Like, we're not looking for like the top players in the top leagues in the top positions.
Recruitment since Solskjaer has come in at United has been considerably better. I think every single signing, whether permanent or on loan, that Solskjaer has made has gone straight into the system.
But same with Arsenal. Like we don't need to pay top price, like top value.
Yeah, I'm saying you guys have got the money to spend.
So Gabriel Martinelli, 7 million. We can probably sell him now for 40 already.
Saliba, who's yet to be proven, Guendouzi, Torreira. Like, these are players that like some of them are
Tierney was a bargain as well.
Tierney is massive bargain, honestly.
Honestly, like from his performances recently.
You've got a good player when his former club are sad to see him go, like when they're tilted. Like that's
so going into this transfer window, right? How confident are you in the based on what you've seen so far, how the recruitment has gone, how the new kind of implemented technical director model is working for Arsenal, and how you feel Arteta is communicating and working in tandem with that new system in place? How do you think? What kind of players do you think Arteta himself will want to go for, and what areas of his team do you think he needs to address?
You can go ahead, Sibi.
Well, Arteta himself has said that he has a direct line to Stan Kroenke, the owner of the club, which is a good thing to hear. He's been very honest in his press conferences. And actually, recently we've heard about Stan Kroenke buying out the debt for the Emirates Stadium, which could mean two things. Either it means that we're now paying back Stan Kroenke that debt at interest-free or like a more feasible interest level, or that the debt is essentially forgiven, and now we have more maneuverability in terms of finances. Either way, it should be a good thing. In terms of recruitment, which areas are to be looking to sign players in? Definitely defenders, center backs. I think we already covered that. I think he's going to look for some creative players in the midfield to replace Ozil. Yeah, essentially, he's going to be looking to basically fill out key positions in that 4-3-3, which is his natural system.
So you foresee Arteta transitioning back into a 4-3-3 shape once he brings in the players that he wants, then?
Definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
I think this 5 at the back is just,
it's very temporary.
What we have right now, exactly.
But don't you think that he could maybe perhaps switch between two systems? I think it was notably apparent with Pep Guardiola's teams at Barcelona and even at Man City. Sir Alex Ferguson did it towards the latter 5 years of his tenure at Manchester United, where you adjust your systems for domestic, you adjust your systems for continental, and you adjust the shape and approach to games based on the opposition as well. Don't you think it could be interesting to see Arteta, because gone are the days, and correct me if I'm wrong, gone are the days where you can see a team absolutely just smash an entire league campaign with 4-4-2 or 4-4-1-1 or a 4-2-3-1 and just stick with that same core lineup and that same tactic and shape throughout the season. I think we are now in... to be fair, yes, that's one example, but they had an kind of exceptional and unprecedented season where they didn't really endure too many injuries throughout their campaign, at least not to any of their main core spine, if I'm not wrong.
Apart from
likes of
Henderson, yeah.
Allison early on as well, and then he came back. And it's interesting to note as well when the likes of Van Dijk or Henderson or even Mane or Salah or Allison are missing from that side, whether it's just one or two or one of them maybe having an off day, it does substantially affect the performance of the team as a whole.
Yeah.
Would you not agree?
Yeah, I would.
I mean,
so
to answer your earlier question about like adapting systems, I mean, he's shown he can adapt. Like for the very first game, I can't remember who we played. I think it was the game against United on New Year's Day, right? When we say it's a 4-3-3 or a 3-4-3 or whatever, like that,
on paper,
that's in defense. That's like when we're defending out of possession. In transition, it changes. If you pay attention, you notice. So you'll see. For example, once we win the ball back, Xhaka is going to drift wide into the left-hand side and like
to the fullback, the fullback position.
Fullback position and cover for Tierney, who's already overlapping, pushing in, and Oba's going to drift central. Like that's already been trained.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about 4-3-3 or 3-4-3, these are essentially the starting lineups out of possession, like systems we're describing.
Interesting, because if you saw Man City earlier on, or I believe it was the second season since Guardiola's appointment, there were times when they'd be dominating games and kind of penning their opposition into their own half, and you would see the likes of Kyle Walker and Benjamin Mendy or whoever was playing at left back almost push forward and tuck into the defensive midfielder roles or areas of the pitch, whilst the actual defensive midfielders would push out wide and further up the field to occupy support for the inverted 10s or the wingers, and basically to create overloads in the midfield and to outnumber the opposition. And I think Arteta is kind of almost creating a derivative of that system or that approach to the game in his kind of numbers game approach, to where you have midfielders shifting and covering for advanced fullbacks. And it's very interesting to see it when you're actually watching the game from a bird's eye view, because you can see how the shape kind of it's essentially putting Arsenal 2 steps ahead of the opposition, is it not?
Yeah. That's all Arteta at City. He managed the wingers as well to come in, and people don't give him the credit he deserves, but the players know, So
I think what you said earlier when Arsenal were lifting the trophy today, you said Guardiola used to put the cones out for Arteta at City.
No, that's just a joke, of course, but but yeah, Arteta definitely knows what he's doing, like in terms of attack and defense, and we can see that like we're really gelling as a team and we're playing better. Like our shape, we have structure and we have a style of play now, which we didn't have for like a few years. So it's good to see. Oh yeah.
Yeah, man, give the guy credit, man. The guy can get a team that is miles away from City in terms of quality, playing like Guardiola's system. Like not many managers can do that.
He had one of the hardest jobs out of all the new managers. Ole, Lampard. He had the hardest job, I think.
It still is.
It's a bigger job. I would say, with considering the plight, circumstances, and environments at all 3 of those clubs. Chelsea, Man United, and Arsenal. I think Arteta indeed he walked into a bigger mess.
Mm-hmm.
So moving on, I think it's clear to see that both of you are on board with the Mikel Arteta School of Football and are delighted with a trophy that was a must-win and absolutely a signal of intent and progress for Arteta's Arsenal side. Chelsea, the losers, 3-0 down in their Champions League leg going into European football as it resumes later this week, losing not just the final, but also a few players. Azpilicueta, their captain and long-standing fullback, as well as Christian Pulisic, who's been putting in the American equivalent of Eden Hazard levels of performances in recent matches for Chelsea. What does that mean for them? None of their new acquisitions in Ziyech and Timo Werner are eligible for the rest of the season as they try to overturn a 3-goal haul by Bayern Munich. What do you see for Chelsea going forward and Frank Lampard?
They're missing Kante too, I think, right?
He had just come back from injury.
Yeah.
I mean,
they're gonna get smoked by Bayern.
They're gonna get smoked, sure. And honestly,
something Arsenal fans know rather well.
Yeah,
I mean, even then, we used to lose to Bayern sometimes on aggregate, both legs. Just don't forget that. Okay, we got smoked, but we've beaten them a few times. But honestly, they're gonna get 3-0 battered.
So you're predicting another 3-0 loss?
Yeah, and Bayern are only gonna get stronger as well.
With the acquisition of your main man, Leroy
Sané.
Honestly, I'm just looking forward to Serge Gnabry smacking them.
Exactly, he'll do it for Arsenal as well.
Just to add some salt in those wounds.
Keeping London red. I think, Ayman, you were telling me
the pot.
Serge Gnabry is still a massive gunner and a very openly vocal supporter.
Yeah, he was training in quarantine wearing the bruised banana. He's still a fan. He was on Hector's podcast as well, like that. Yeah, they're good friends.
That's brilliant. So Chelsea going forward,
I think next season they're going to be contenders. Between them and United for third place again, I think. And potentially, let's see how City do, but potentially even second. But you can never be. I mean, this is football predictable, and it's the Premier League. We don't know how Leicester are going to perform. We don't know how Arsenal. It depends on how the transfer market goes as well. So.
With the inflation due to the coronavirus pandemic, I think things are a little different for clubs outside of that top 6 bracket.
City are fucking it up even more, buying players like Ake for 41 million. What's that gonna do to the market during coronavirus? I don't even know. I don't want to know.
Yeah, I think there was a meme circulating earlier in Twitter where Eddie Howe was seen discussing the Nathan Ake transfer with Guardiola, and he was basically beginning to say, yes, we'll take 20, and Pep just goes, we'll give you 41 million, and you just see a picture of Eddie Howe smiling to himself. Which, interesting segue, right before we began this pod, it was announced as breaking news at the time that Eddie Howe has departed his job at Bournemouth. Bournemouth, who he kept in the Premier League and got up to the Premier League Championship and sustained a Premier League place for about 5 seasons, I believe, before obviously being relegated this season. What do you guys think of that?
It's sad. I mean, I feel for him. I don't think they're going to keep any of those players. Because like the likes of Ryan Fraser, Callum Wilson, Josh King, like those guys are going to go for sure. They're not going to play in the championship.
They definitely did let him down throughout various periods this season, didn't they?
That's true. But like from their perspective, are you going to go now play next season in the championship with a new manager that you don't know? Like, it's unrealistic. I don't see those players staying. I think some Premier League clubs might swipe a few of them. Maybe Leicester, maybe Wolves, maybe like any of these mid-table teams might come in for them.
I think Joshua King was linked with Man United, so
technically Arsenal's mid-table, and I wouldn't mind some of these kind of like Cantwell. I'd take him. Even
Cantwell from Norwich.
He's a gooner as well. So
I'd go for Buendia, man.
Yeah, there's a lot of players that have been relegated. Grealish, who's not relegated, but there's a lot of players in the bottom teams that can play for like top 5, top 6 teams for sure.
Yeah, I guess we can call this segment the bargain bucket or the bargain bucket. Yeah, because there's a bunch of players now like in the relegation zone who are gonna go for cheap. So if we want to list them off, like you got Buendia, you got Cantwell, you got Max Aarons, Jack Grealish is like a 50-50. From Bournemouth, you got
players
Josh King,
who could definitely provide depth, if not starting berths for many mid-table and upper Premier League sides. I think United are certainly looking to strengthen the depth in the squad because I think it was very evident towards the latter stages of the post-lockdown football fixture list that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer wasn't willing to delve too far away from that set starting lineup, the strongest lineup that he could field, possibly indicating he doesn't trust the depth that he has currently available to him. Do you guys see something similar at Arsenal and other clubs that the managers know the players they trust, and they know by now that the players that they don't trust, and they know which players they may want to bring in to replace the ones that they see as deadwood?
Yeah, I think they do. And like a lot of teams have this problem where, like in terms of, like, for example, Arsenal, we're losing a game and usually we bring on Willock. Always it's Joe Willock, 70th minute, Willock. And same with Liverpool. If Mane or Salah get injured, like, do they have a player that can replace? Like, I know Origi's decent and Minamino, like, we haven't seen much, but a lot of teams, they're struggling in the depth department. So some of these bargains would be like really good additions for the team.
The best way I could sum it up, at least in Arsenal's regards, is Arteta is playing a placeholder formation with placeholder players.
Yeah.
Essentially. Whether they're gonna go in for any of these bargain players, I'd like them to pick up one or two maybe. But definitely like invest the majority of the budget in defensive areas, whether that's in the league or abroad.
Interesting. Do you boys feel that with the saturation and effects of to the market by whatever has gone on, lower league clubs who do rely quite substantially on the revenue from match day tickets and sales, do you think that they are going to be much more likely to sell their higher value players to the big dogs?
Definitely,
yeah.
Definitely.
They need to, especially with coronavirus. Like a lot of clubs, they need to make that money back somehow. You know,
it's a seller's market. It's
Exactly.
a seller's market. I think, given the pandemic situation and its impact on matchday revenue and those things you mentioned, the gap between the rich clubs with billionaire owners and the clubs, you know, owned by guys who invest in property or whatever, that gap's going to widen. I can see a lot of players, like teams in the bottom half selling, a lot of teams in the top half buying.
Even a lot of teams in the top half selling as well, I think.
Well, once again, guys, congratulations. Ayman, thank you so much for joining us for this exciting FA Cup edition of Armchair Manager.
No worries.
Yeah, good to have you.
It was a delight. It was always a riveting and exciting conversation talking football with you boys. Until next time, thank you for listening, guys.